My name is Daniel. I'm 29 years old, and honestly, before all of this happened, my life felt incredibly normal. Not boring, just predictable in the kind of way that makes you feel safe. I live in Ohio, work a regular job, and come home to my wife Emily and our two kids who always manage to make the house feel just a little louder than I expect. But that's family life, right? Messy, exhausting, but full of love. I used to think nothing unusual would ever happen in our home. But life has a strange way of surprising you when you least expect it. And for me, that surprise came from something as simple as my ear. It started as a tiny inconvenience. One morning, while getting ready for work, I realized my right ear felt a little muffled. Not painful, not alarming, just that annoying sensation you get after a shower, like water didn't drain out properly. I shook my head a few times, tried yawning, tried pressing around it. Nothing helped. But I didn't think much of it.
A normal person would have just ignored it for a few days. I truly wish I had. But instead, I casually mentioned it to my wife. Emily turned toward me with this sudden spark in her eyes. Not worry, not concern, but excitement. See, Emily has this obsession, and obsession is the only word that fits. She watches ear cleaning videos, and not occasionally, I mean deep dives into wax removal content that go on for hours. It's her strange comfort, something she calls oddly satisfying. I never understood it, but I never judged her either. Everyone has their thing. But what I never expected was that her fascination would turn into a mission. When I told her about my ear, she didn't suggest eardrops, she didn't shrug it off, she didn't even ask for more details. She just said, with complete seriousness, "Don't worry, Daniel, I'll take care of it." I laughed because how else do you respond to something like that? But the next day, when I came home, I saw the first package, then another, and another, and another. Emily had turned our doorstep into a medical supply center. Headlamps, magnifying visors, tweezers of every size, metal scoops shaped like tiny spoons, spiral tools that looked like they belonged in a sci-fi movie. Things I'd never seen before and honestly didn't want to. And she banned cotton buds. Apparently, they were dangerous. Meanwhile, she was holding a metal hook that could probably open a bank vault. That was the moment I realized I might be in trouble. I tried to play it cool. I tried to be nice. I let her take a little look, thinking she'd get bored or realize she didn't know what she was doing. But Emily wasn't experimenting, she was committing.
She sat me down with the precision of a surgeon preparing for a major operation. She positioned lights around me, strapped on her headlamp, and even asked the kids to bring mommy her tools. It was like watching someone role-play a doctor, except she wasn't playing. She was convinced she was helping. And I became her unwilling patient. I love my wife, and this wasn't malicious. She genuinely believed she was helping me. But something changed. Something shifted inside her. It wasn't curiosity anymore. It was obsession. She wanted to fix me. She needed to. And I started to feel genuinely scared. Every morning before coffee, she'd say, "Let me check your ear." Every evening, she'd ask, "Did it get better? Let me see." And sometimes she didn't wait for an answer. I started avoiding her, hiding behind the kids, walking around corners slowly in case she was there with a tool in her hand. I'd pretend I had work calls or pretend I was sleepy or pretend I suddenly felt better, but nothing worked. Emily would track me down like she had a sixth sense for my location, and every time she'd approach, she'd have another new tool in her hand, excited to try it out. Then came the night that truly shook me. Around 2 in the morning, I woke up because I felt something warm and bright on my face.
I blinked a few times and saw a flashlight pointing directly at my eyes. When my vision focused, I saw Emily standing over me. She was wearing her headlamp, holding tweezers, focused on my ear like she had spotted treasure. I froze. My heart hammered against my chest. "Emily," I whispered, "what are you doing?" She said softly, "Don't move. I think I see something." At that moment, I genuinely thought I was living in a horror film. Not because she wanted to hurt me, but because she had no idea how terrifying she looked. She wasn't trying to scare me, but she did. That was the moment I knew I needed help. Real help. The next morning, while sitting in my car outside the house, I felt this wave of exhaustion wash over me. Not physically, but mentally. I was tired of being hunted, tired of feeling anxious, tired of not being able to sleep without worrying my wife might perform surgery at 2 a.m. So I walked inside and told her, with a firm voice I didn't even know I had, "I'm going to a real doctor." She didn't get angry. She didn't argue. She didn't even deny anything. She just said, "Okay, but I'm coming with you. And the kids too. They should learn the proper technique." I stared at her, unsure whether to laugh or cry. But I was too drained to fight, so we all went together. The four of us walked into the clinic like we were going to a school demonstration. The doctor looked confused the moment he saw our little entourage. He checked my ear calmly, professionally, quickly. And guess what? It was a tiny blockage. Nothing serious, easily fixable, no medieval tools required. Then Emily started asking questions. So many questions. She listed every tool she owned. She asked how deep she should go, what angle she should use, what lighting conditions are ideal. She even mentioned the headlamp she bought. The doctor's polite smile slowly faded. He cleared his throat and finally said, "Ma'am, please don't attempt ear procedures at home. It can be dangerous." And that hit her harder than I expected. On the drive home, Emily stared out the window quietly. That spark of obsession in her eyes was gone, replaced by guilt and a soft sadness. When we parked, she turned to me and said, with a cracking voice, "I'm sorry. I really thought I was helping you."
For the first time in weeks, I saw my wife again. Not the obsessed version of her, but the real Emily. The person who loves me. The person who cares deeply. The person who just got carried away. I told her how scared I'd been, how tired, how unsafe I felt sleeping next to someone armed with tweezers. We talked. Really talked. Something we hadn't done in weeks. She promised to stop. She returned most of the tools. She apologized again and again. And I forgave her. Because love isn't perfect. People make mistakes. People get carried away. People sometimes cross lines without realizing it. But communication, honesty, setting boundaries, those things save relationships. Looking back, the whole situation is funny now. I can laugh about it. The midnight operations, the tools, the kids copying her. It's ridiculous. But underneath the humor is a message I needed to learn. Sometimes the people who love you the most don't realize when they're overwhelming you. Sometimes their care becomes pressure. Sometimes their fear turns into obsession. And unless you speak up, they might never know. This experience taught me something precious. My voice matters. My comfort matters. And in a marriage, love is not about control, it's about understanding. That's my story. Complicated, scary, funny, emotional, but real. And I hope sharing it reminds someone listening that you're not alone. Relationships are messy. Family life is chaotic, but honesty can repair almost anything.